All right, what is going on, everyone? Episode 97 AFR. We've taken some time off, doing a little
Yeah.
you know,
Busy year.
busy year, kind of a lull in some of the
Yeah.
sports. But we're all busy. We have a lot of things on our plates.
A wedding, a second kid, an own business. We have a lot going on right now.
Yeah. So a lot of personal life stuff, but all good. All good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good. I'm excited to be back with you guys talking sports. How are you? I'm doing well, but how are you guys?
Good. Yeah, I definitely needed to get back after this. I'm rocking the old Souderton tennis squad from high school, still fits. So
Let's go.
varsity 1.5 seasons, only played 2. So,
Changing it up from your Solderton sweatshirt last week.
my soccer sweatshirt.
Soccer
So one
sweatshirt.
soccer
Yeah.
last, tennis this week. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I think to get us started, we're gonna talk a few things. WNBA, then we're gonna go into some NBA, and then finish up with some NASCAR. As we're, I think, 2 weeks into the season for NASCAR now.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, let's touch on some WNBA first. The big news that kind of just broke a couple hours ago, as of recording.
Finally, something other than Caitlin Clark. Sorry. I know it's good for the sport.
Diana Taurasi retiring. There was a question definitely if she was going to come back and try one more time. The Mercury kind of loaded up this year. They got Alyssa Thomas from the Sun. They got a few other pieces, and Taurasi was kind of unsure, but she retired. She's done everything, in the sport. I don't think
she checked all the boxes.
And I can bring this up real quick here so we can take a look at it if everyone can see. I think we can.
Yeah, you can always blow it up a little bit.
So, blow this up for Ryan since there we go. So she's, I think without question considered the GOAT right now. I know,
it's a young league.
It's a young league.
Gotta have a GOAT.
Longevity purposes, she's the GOAT. I think peak wise, most people would still think either like Maya Moore or Aja Wilson at this point, but peak like longevity, scoring wise, she's the GOAT. Look at all of her accolades, how long she played for. She's in, she won 1 MVP, but she was top 4. I don't know how many times here. You can see all the accolades here: 11-time All-Star, 5-time scoring champ, 3-time WNBA champ, 14-time All WNBA, 2 times Finals MVP. Accolades on accolades. I think she also, I don't know. I'm trying to remember how many titles did she win at UConn. I think she won at least 2 also at UConn.
Yeah.
I think she's won a few gold medals in the Olympics too. So just everything that she could possibly do in the sport, and just shout out to her. She's been, I think she's been through a lot as far as like the old guard and now the new guard. And a lot of people were upset that she even was on the Olympic team last year, but I think it was a good time to hang it up for her. She, she was kind of definitely declining. Her field goal percentage was, not where it was
expected.
Yeah. And
she was in her 40s.
Yeah. So I just want to bring up most points per game, or not points per game, but most points in WNBA history, because we looked at this once before, and just the discrepancy of next, and we can see this here. Taurasi, I'll scroll and move in a little bit. Oh, so I'm gonna move in a little bit here. There we go.
Good old ads on the old reference.
Yeah. So you got Tina Charles and DeWanna Bonner, who are both still active, actually, but I can't imagine they're going to be catching Taurasi. But she's just way ahead.
It's ridiculous.
Of everyone else. And you just see, that list and just how many more points she has.
Some legends like Sue Bird, Candace Parker, like these are names.
Yeah.
Lisa Leslie. Legendary players, and they're thousands of points behind.
Yeah. So I think one day I would like to do like a top 10 all time, my top 10 WNBA. I think it'd be fun to do.
Oh,
I think the one that would have been a GOAT for me if she did play long was Maya Moore. because I don't think people realize how crazy her stats were when she's the one that retired because she was trying to get her now husband out of prison. We talked about this a while ago, but this is just her. These are her 8 years in the league. I mean, just ridiculous every year.
Only one MVP, but
one MVP,
first team WNBA more than half her career,
twice second.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just insane. So just shout out to her. Only other thing I wanted to touch on is the Mystics trade.
Oh, real quick, before we hop off of Taurasi, another thing that I think is ridiculous. I know the WNBA is smaller, money's not as crazy, right? But she played all 20 years on the same team. I don't know if someone in the NBA has done that. I think like Dirk, Kobe, all of them were maybe 18, 19. There's been plenty of 20-year players. I don't know if all on the same team, though. I mean, even players as dominant as LeBron, Jordan, you can go down the list. They all eventually hop for the most part. I would have to see a list to confirm. I'm mad that I don't know off the top of my head. I don't even know if Kobe, though, got 20 same team. I don't think he did. So it's just ridiculous.
Yeah. Might be like an older player, like Bill Russell or something. I don't even know if he played that long though.
Okay, so there's 3. And if you want to count Udonis Haslem, I'm
no.
Massive asterisk. Kobe was the one I was wondering. Kareem too. So okay, but I mean that's 3.
Oh, it says Dirk.
Okay, and Dirk. Okay, well, okay, I was way off there. 4. I didn't even know if there was 1.
Yeah, but still,
I mean, I think that's something to say too.
Sure.
Because there's so much. I mean, Embiid's been with the Sixers a decade, and people have been ready to ship him out 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's saying something to the organization too to work with her even towards the end. That's really nice. I mean, like a lot of times you see these players like Jordan went to the Wizards at the end of his career. It's cool to see.
You know what's crazy? I didn't know this, and I don't know the story of this, but she was second MVP, and then it says she did not play and sat out because a Russian Premier League paid her not to play. See this?
What?
Prime,
Do you
right?
see this?
This is prime.
Yeah, she was second in the MVP the year before. What? I have not heard.
What?
I don't. Do you see it? I don't know.
Yeah. What? Wait. What?
I don't know.
The Russian Premier League?
UMC Ekaterinburg paid her not to not play.
What happened in 2015? I wonder if there was a lockout or something in the WNBA.
That was 2015?
I don't know.
That's insane.
No.
To be honest, I didn't even know the WNBA existed in 2015.
Oh, we should look at her Russian league stats.
I don't even know if she played though. It just says that they paid her not to play.
She says Diana Taurasi played for UMMC Ekaterinburg in the Russian Premier League from 2005 to 2017. In her time, her achievements include 7-time Russian League national champ, 3-time Russian Cup winner, 3-time Russian League Player of the Year.
So she did like what? Like
holy smokes!
So she did like on the off seasons she played there.
Yeah, and basically for 2015, it says that in February 2015, she announced that she would miss the 2015 season at the request of that club. And they paid her more than the salary to sit out. And then she returned in 2016.
Could you imagine being a big Mercury fan then? And then just hearing that
being
news?
like, what?
Why was that not exploded more in? I know the WNBA wasn't popular then, but that's a story. I've never heard of a story like that. I mean, that's basically like the equivalent of Jordan retiring to like go play baseball. Like that's
or if the Saudi league was like, oh hey LeBron, don't play in the NBA this year.
Yeah. That's insane.
What?
It's just these.
I mean, Ben, she's got to be the GOAT, right?
Oh, she's 100% the GOAT.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think there's really. I was just trying to see if I could find like her stats. Eurobasket. That's probably a good place for it. Well,
and basically, she was just saying it was a protest about the NBA or WNBA salaries.
Oh.
They paid her $1.5 million to sit out the season.
Oh,
That's awesome. That's such a Russian move.
I wish
I think it's a wash, Ben.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up another time. But all right, the last thing I just wanted to touch on real quick was this trade that the Sky traded. So the Mystics traded. She's an all-star, but she's not that good. So her name's Ariel Atkins. I can look at her stats real quick. Anyway, the Mystics traded her to the Sky for the 3rd overall pick, and you can see her stats. I mean, again, she has 14, almost 15 points a game, but she's not super young. She's a good defender. But basically, they traded their 3rd overall pick in the draft. So now the Mystics in the upcoming draft have the 3rd pick, the 4th pick, and the 6th pick in the draft.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
big. That is.
But she's
Whoa.
she's not, I don't know, she's not like 3rd overall pick good, like for them. So it was a good move by the Mystics, and just wanted to.
Was there a reason?
I think it's just this whole. I think a lot of what I talked about before is like the Sky decided they're just going to go for it this year, and like a lot of teams that are going
That's
for it this
true.
year because of the new CBA that's going to happen after this season, and a lot of teams are going to need to. Basically, everyone's going to have to get new contracts and all that stuff. So
yeah, I mean, if you're the Mystics, 3 picks in the top 10. I'm saying one of them I'm saving for just some random person that pops off in March Madness that you didn't know about.
The real question is Deladon returning? And I don't know that. I do not know.
Oh,
she's not retiring, Ben.
I don't know.
I haven't gotten to see her in person yet.
We'll have to hopefully see. We can see her. But anyway, just wanted to touch
crazy.
Want to touch on that. So
wow.
Some WNBA stuff I'll be following again closely, and this league is shaken up different. So
yeah.
But yeah, so the college season ends, right? And then 2 weeks the draft, and then WNBA starts.
And then they might
a couple
have
weeks for preseason, right?
They might have a month until regular season games start or something like that.
So,
but pretty much everyone in the tournament gets no time off.
Yeah. So
and now they're expanding the season. There's more games now for the
Yeah.
WNBA.
Most likely the top, at least one of the top 2 picks will be Paige Buchers, but we'll see where she goes.
Wild.
Dang.
Yeah. But let's move on.
One legend to another.
Yeah.
Same. We'll stick with basketball.
Yeah.
This was crazy news, Chase. I don't know if you know the full story or not. Obviously the Spurs have been kind of irrelevant the past few years. I can let you roll with it if you want, but essentially, Popovich had the stroke, I think, in November timeframe. He's been out coaching since, still with the team, still a part of the team. Obviously, has a great relationship with the organization from the top down. He's been in contact with Wembanyama when they had to shut him down recently, and this, that, and the other thing. But it was officially confirmed he won't be returning this season. Obviously, the stroke's a big part of it. He's 76, which is the oldest coach in the NBA. I think Hubie Brown, which we talked about a few weeks ago, who just called his last game in his 90s, had the previous record for oldest coach in the league at 71. So Popovich is 76. Obviously, he's been coaching for 2 decades, 5 championships.
Yeah, and I know it was like a few years ago. I think his wife passed away, and I wonder if he just it's something that keeps him active and involved instead of just not doing anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sad. It's definitely sad.
Yeah, it's tough. I really don't know that much deep into it, other than it's just been something he's been struggling with. But
yeah,
I thought he was already back at certain points. Like I totally missed that he's just pretty much just been out the entire time. And I think he's also more than just a coach. I think he has like a front office role too. So that's a lot for the Spurs to have to take on, to basically just be replacing your icon, other than your players. Like everybody else, when you think of the Spurs, just thinks of Pop.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Whether or not he comes back to coaching, he could definitely keep a role in the organization. I'm sure there's certain organizations. Why I love the NBA, the whole culture can get brought out in the league, but within individual teams, we talk about the most. I think we shouldn't overlook the Spurs, just because most of their players are gone from that dynasty. Yeah, it's just wild. And Popovich's legacy, it's one of those situations where it's like a Joe Palm Penn State. You're just going to let him ride until he doesn't want to coach anymore because
Yeah.
the stats, he's the winningest coach in NBA history, I think, in most wins. But I know the last 5 to 7 years have been rough, but it doesn't mean his development in players have been bad. I mean, DeJounte Murray has turned out to be a solid guy. I mean, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Devin Vassell is a really good NBA player.
Yeah, Devin White.
Yeah, Derek White.
Derek White. Yeah. And his
Yeah.
brother Devin White.
Yeah. There's a lot of players that have sifted through there, and he's made
Keegan. No, not Keegan Murray.
no. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I can't now because they've been pretty
Yeah.
but
even just still like the legendary rosters that he had of people who would have been nobodies, not that they would have been nobodies, but just the fact that like he brought in a whole era of being like the Euro player. Like I feel like that was really like a revolution.
Yeah, and it was such an unselfish form of basketball. Like such a pretty like way to watch the game. Just
the highlight reels were
passing, just the continuity of the team, just the unselfishness, and everyone's willing to pass up their look for a better look. And
yeah. I mean, he essentially, Tony Parker, Boris Diaw. I mean, there was
Manu.
Yeah, Manu down from Argentina. He was really good at essentially starting that. I mean, say what you want about the league. The corner three, I think, was invented by Popovich. Guys like Danny Green literally made careers off of things like that. The development, Kawhi, we forgot about
Splitter.
That was okay. Tiago Splitter was a player on those teams and nothing more.
Yeah.
But no, Kawhi was a big piece too. I mean, if the injuries and his personality is kind of, but on the court, I mean, he turned him into the best player, two-way player in the league for like a 5-year span, and 2014 won and 2019 won. So,
and I just respect the model that he's had too. Like he never was trying to change. He was just like, oh, this is what we have. These are the guys. Like he literally just, they've had like stability. It's been crazy where you went from one big man, David Robinson, then you get Timmy Duncan for 50 years, and then you get Victor Wembanyama. It's like, how does this even work? How does it even happen?
Yeah, we're like, of course. Like we kind of saw the Wemby coming. It's like,
and
now,
but it's crazy. It's like classic Euro big guy. He's like, he finally gets the big Euro of being like a freak of this generation, and it hopefully he comes back because I think this is a little and maybe he just doesn't become the coach. Maybe he just steps away from being the coach and still has a front office role. But I feel like he'd be able to have such an impact on what Wembanyama becomes and just the players they put around him. Like you put Chris Paul around him, obviously just to like expand his role and like know what he can do. And I don't know, you're just trying to blend him in and become more than just a big guy because as we're seeing in Philadelphia, it's great while it lasts, but it doesn't last forever, and that's the hard part. But it's not like Wembanyama's a heavy guy. He doesn't seem to like he's not a crash test dummy like Joel is, where he just is flying everywhere and jumping everywhere and falling, and like it feels like he's more controlled. And I feel like that's why he's going to be around for a long time. But I feel like it's why they have centers that play for a long time, is because they don't really ask them to do that type of stuff.
Yeah. And shout out quick to Collector's Dream for stopping. I know you're from for the Fun of the Hobby. I've seen some of your videos, so I appreciate you stopping by and just taking a peek at our podcast. So anyway, back to it.
Yeah, for sure. It's a wild thing. I don't think coaching, one thing, I don't think he'll be done with the organization by any means. To me, and I know we always huddle to like when you're growing up, that's the stuff you latch on to. That's what gets you engaged into sports and loving what you watch, and you're remembering it when you're talking about the history of sports. But for me, Greg Popovich, I would put as my GOAT as coaching. Phil Jackson's probably up there. Coach Red for the Celtics, Red Auerbach, I believe his name was, obviously is up there. There's a lot of great coaches throughout the years. but you don't really have a modern day guy like that. Eric Spoelstra could potentially become someone like that, but yeah, to me, Greg Popovich is just always did everything the right way, and it turned out. I mean,
I know you I know you're gonna hate this comment, but I feel like the closest thing that could happen. It's way too early to say that, but is Joe Mazzulla. I know I don't like the Celtics, but I like how he handles.
You think
things.
Joe Mazzulla could become the GOAT?
I think he right now could be the closest to having that trajectory as far as like similar personality to Pop, and where and kind of just everything stays internal.
Bro, that's a terrible take.
That's not a terrible take.
If I thought you were going to say Steve Kerr, at least would have been a little more relevant.
No, because I think once Steph's gone, Steve's not gonna. I don't think they're gonna do anything. I want to see Steve.
Yeah, but Pop won all 5 of his with Tim Duncan. Like, it's not like.
Yeah.
You think Mazzulla is gonna ride it out through Tatum and Brown and keep winning?
I think they might.
That's such an early take on a Celtics team that you shouldn't even like.
I don't like them, but I think his personality fits that similar bill that Popovich had of kind of. I mean, you see interviews and it reminds me of Pop.
Case, what's your take?
I'm not saying he's going to become Pop. That's obviously a statement. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he has a similar personality and could follow that trajectory.
Doesn't he just wear like a jumpsuit on the side? Does he even dress up for game day?
I don't even know. I don't think so. I feel like he's a laid back kind of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah. I feel like it's kind of weird because I do think that could happen too. I could definitely see that possibility where he goes off and they rattle off like a title of like 2 in the next 5 years or something like that, and then they have 3. And it's like, all right, that's a pretty good run, regardless of how it is. Maybe they still are dominant regular season teams and fall a little bit short sometimes. But it's also kind of loaded because it wasn't supposed to be his team. Like he kind of filtered through, but so I feel like it's kind of an asterisk. But I don't think he's a bad coach necessarily. I mean, you still can have all the people and never win either. Like how many? I don't even know who the Nets coach is anymore. Is it the same guy who had the trio of Harden, KD, and Kyrie?
I don't think so.
Wasn't that Steve Nash or no?
Well, they filtered. It's I forget who it is right now, but it's someone different.
Yeah, I don't even know. But it's not like I don't know. It's just so hard to have all the pieces put it together, and then it does seem like he makes a lot of good decisions, or at least puts his guys in positions where they're not going to fail. And I think that's what Pop did the best. Was obviously he had really good players and he found people and developed them, but I feel like he just never let his team really get too far out of being in a bad spot. Like they could always every time they made it to the playoffs, it was like good chance that the Spurs won this thing. Like they're just gonna get really hot and take it all the way, and like they don't have the star power as every other team, but they just did it.
Yeah,
like they just grinded out the wins.
Yeah, I'm still convinced. I put it on the list of Warriors asterisks that if Zaza didn't take out Kawhi that year, that they would have lost that series. Kawhi single-handedly carried the Raptors in 2019 and took out the Warriors.
His favorite player.
Zaza? Yeah. I don't even know my list. I don't have a list, but Zaza's on there. And so you can hold me to it. So if I come up with a list, you have to make sure he's on there.
I would definitely have to put Spoelstra somewhere in there though, just because he's done it with how many times his roster's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that's
changed
why
so many times.
Yeah, he's got a more I mean, he had Shaq and Wade. I mean, Wade was kind of his main guy.
Yeah, well,
he had to deal with all the LeBron drama, and he did. But then he hasn't won a chip since. But I think he's been to 2 finals since, and he was the reason that the Celtics couldn't even get to the finals for so long. They couldn't get past the Miami Heat.
Yeah, he's definitely taken some teams a lot farther than I think people anticipated.
Yeah,
but he hasn't won the chip, and it's hard because he doesn't have, I don't think, the same. I think a lot of coaches in the league that have been with an organization as long as he has would have more power than he has. I think just the way the Heat work. He still just doesn't have a lot of power just from the top down with Pat Riley.
Yeah, and Pat he's another amazing coach.
Yeah.
I like Joe Mazzulla. I just want to make that clear. Chase's point about how he kind of inherited. It was kind of how I originally felt about Steve Kerr in that situation.
Yeah, he is too. That should be an asterisk with him
than...
because, he didn't have to suck with the team and then get the guys he wanted.
Yeah, but there's still, it says something about that too, because the coach has to come in and tweak some things to make it right. Yeah, so no, I just think it's a very early take, especially with guys like Kerr and Spoelstra.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not even out of question to say like Pop might be the greatest coach out of every sport. Like out of the 4 majors, like I feel like he was able just to do something like record wise. I feel like it's gonna be tough to beat, like his winning percentages and stuff like that. But like, I don't know. I feel like you could put him up against like the greatest managers of all time, and he would have like a good argument.
I like that.
Won championships, won regular season games, postseason winning percentage pretty good.
I mean, the amount.
I don't know. I think we got to look at like Connie Mack's resume.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but I think the most impressive thing is the NBA ridiculously changed over the. It always is changing.
Became a much more players league.
But the last 10 years have been kind of similar. And before that, you essentially had like 3 different eras. And even with the same centerpiece, Duncan, you still had to win in 3 different eras. And he won a chip in the 90s. Obviously, their best was their run in the 2000s. But then in 2014, they proved they could win again. That, to your point, Chase, gives him a really big boost, I think, across any sport, because it's just so hard. I mean, you talk about coaches all the time that are good at adapting in game, out of game, throughout the league. But did anyone do it better than Pop? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, let's just
point out, I'm not going to get us off track, but Connie Mack managed from 1894 and until 1950.
Okay,
so we got to do a deeper dive on Connie Mack, but we're just going to put together our preliminary greatest coach of all time list. Pop, Nick Saban probably for college football, Bill Belichick for pro football, Connie Mack baseball.
I mean, modern, you could do like Bruce Bochy because he won the 3 with the Giants, and he also won.
And then won the Rangers. Yeah,
he might be like the modern guy. I don't know.
Yeah, he could be the modern guy. That's true.
Yeah,
to be considered, but I mean, it's crazy that we've had such great coaches in our short time.
Yeah,
like it's pretty outrageous.
The longevity to me has to be just like any player on the court. You don't blame players for injuries, but if you're on the court, like LeBron has gotten so much love because he's always out there playing every night. To be a coach, I mean, there are some organizations that just churn through coaches. Ben knows as a New York fan. Like, teams and organizations. Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So, like, the fact to be like Bruce Bochy's a good point. Like, you left the Giants and he's relevant enough for a long enough time to still come back and win again. That shows so much. And I mean, that's major kudos to Pop because he was only on the court and he was doing a lot in their high level organization too. So
I mean, even like it's on the baseball track, like Dusty Baker was coaching forever. I think since World War I, and like it took him how long to win a World Series, like an actual get there as a coach, like forever and ever.
He played for like 18 years and then went right from playing to like coaching.
Yeah,
like he was in in the sport for like literally his entire life. Like 70 years, like wild stuff. And like at that point, you have to love whatever game you're doing, because I always like wonder sometimes with coaches like like Pop, who has to love basketball because at 77, 76, he doesn't need money. It's like, it's not about that anymore.
Yeah.
But
definitely one of the greatest ever. I hope he comes back.
Yeah. Hope he gets like a proper send off,
Yeah, I would think. And also, like, it's just a shame because it's like if he had like 2 more years with Wemby, I mean,
Maybe Wemby, since Wemby's out the year, he's just like, I'll just try again next year.
Yeah, that's true.
But all right, let's we'll stay on basketball and move on to some non-coaching stuff here. Your guys' team, 76ers, apparently not throwing in the towel, but that seems like that's not a wise decision. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like they're shaking their head yes. I mean, they're saying yes, but shaking their head no. Like, I don't if Joel's not there, then I don't know if he can actually win. So it's kind of a ridiculous statement because Joel's pretty much has been the team, but I don't know, just the reports that I've heard, it sounds not very good.
Yeah, it's just to me, it feels like they're not giving up. I mean, we've talked about it was probably like a month ago, Chase. We talked about whether or not they should shut Joel Embiid down, and you said yes. And I didn't want to give up hope yet because I'm optimistic. But I would have honestly been okay with it. I'm at the point now where I'm never gonna give up until the season's over because that's just the fan I am. But if they shut Embiid down and they're like, okay, we're gonna just try to win with the rest of these guys this year, it seems like Paul George is playing through a bunch of pain too. But it's one of those things where I would be like, okay, I mean, Embiid wants to play. Let's take out the first couple weeks of the season where he got suspended and this, that, and the other thing. He wants to play, he wants to be on the court. He's done everything he can. The main reason I think his knee was still bothering him wasn't because of the Olympics. I think he came back too early last season. So I'll give him a little bit of a break there. And then when he's out there, he's still trying to give it his all. And it's obviously he's not 100%. And then it was that Boston Celtics game where he basically came out and said where no one knew. And he was just basically like, yeah, I might need another surgery to fix this because it's not getting better. Week off from the All-Star break looked the same as he did before. And to me, as an organization, I mean, you have him into extension, you have Maxey to a deal, you have Paul George on a 4-year deal. You could throw in the towel for this year. It just feels like they're still not doing that, not only with Embiid, but with the team. I mean, what do you want to try to rattle off 8 out of 10 to get yourself in the 10 spot just to have to win 2 straight games to then face the Cavs or the Celtics? It's just, as a fan, I can root for it, but as a team, it's just weird. I don't know if they're saying things and then just to say it, because like I don't know, you don't go and get blown out by the Bulls by 30. I don't know. So I'm getting a lot of mixed singles, but the way Nick Nurse is talking, he's acting like they're still trying to compete to win, not only to get in the playoffs, but to win some playoff series.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like he has to do some of that to an extent just so he doesn't lose the locker room and then lose his job too. But I don't feel like it's a bad thing, especially because of the way that the Sixers went about their deadline. They shed so much money. Like they got rid of players that they could be using at this point, to be honest. And I think that it's important that they keep this pick this year, which they have to be in the top 6 or else they lose it, and they had to get rid of this pick because they had to get rid of Al Horford, and because Oklahoma City is, pick whores and they're fine and the NBA is fine with allowing them to have 100 picks, they have everyone's picks for the next 5 years, so I think it's a good thing, it's there, but at the same time, it sucks that we have to do this detour, and I feel like if Joel really needs some kind of surgery or procedure or anything, just start it now. Like, I don't know what the point of waiting is if he's gonna have to get it in a month. Like, you're
Yeah.
just delaying the inevitable, and it's like, you just have to deal with the reality that he's not gonna be on this team the rest of the year, and I don't know how they do that, and win and be at a competitive level, especially against every other team that's in the East. I don't see it, but and it's hard to do that. Like, last year, we were trying to get to a title, and we thought we had enough pieces, and the year before that, and the year before that, and it's like, have to take this detour, but, uh, I don't know, I think it's hard just to push it all in for 1 year, but, I wanna be long term too and realize, like, okay, we probably can't ride Embiid for he might not even be able to play 60 games going forward in his career.
Yeah.
which is tough. That's a hard thing to have to realize. Like, it's kind of over of like his MVP days possibly gone. Like, I don't know. It's just tough when it's a knee, and especially the way his knees are. And
Yeah.
I don't think if he would have just handled it right from the jump, it'd be so different. Like the way that they're handling McCain, they just told him to get it replaced, his meniscus, and I feel like long term that's gonna be good, but, it sucks eating the bullet when it's there.
Yeah, I mean, now they've lost 8 in a row now and,
Yeah.
2
I
games to the
think they're
name.
1-9 in February.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, and
it's
they
just
play
upside down, and I don't know what it is.
yeah, they have the Knicks and Warriors as their next
Yeah.
2 games, but
And
yeah,
I don't want to just say it's all Embiid because it's been an injury-ridden team. I mean, Morey got a bunch of one-year deal guys to maybe deal some of the deadline, which he kind of did.
and George is not the player you pay
Yeah,
for.
Paul
Like,
George sucks.
he is
Mm.
not. I mean, I said we talked about in the beginning of the year, you were excited, you got the jersey,
Yeah.
but I mean, maybe he's injured too, like you said, and maybe he's just trying to play through it. But
Yeah.
if he's also injured, then he needs to get that dealt with and just come back.
Yeah, like, if you're gonna shut it down, then just I don't
Every-
know, we're at that point of the season where it's like
Everyone get healthy.
I mean, they're
yeah,
20-37. Like this isn't like they're 1-10 and they're like, oh, don't worry, it's a long NBA
yeah.
season. They'll get enough wins. It's like, okay, no, we're about in March. Playoffs start at the end of April. Like
Yeah,
maybe
I
just
don't see the timeline, like, like, there's not enough. I don't know, we've
no.
already talked about this, like you said, we talked about the time they needed to turn it around, and they somewhat kinda did, they
Yeah.
showed some signs of life, and I don't think this team's totally dead in the water, but they're running out of time, and it's like, even if you get in, what are you gonna do? Like, you're going up against teams that it's like that
Yeah.
we just can't possibly match up, especially without Embiid, and especially if he's not 100%. Like, I don't know. I don't want a repeat of the last few years where it's like we struggled and we grinded, and then we just come out even more hurt and banged up, you know. But this also comes back on Josh Harris because he's owned this team longer than he's owned the Commanders, and I feel like he only cares about the Commanders right now and the Devils. And it's like, what are you doing about us? Like the Devils, they have so many nice pieces and young prospects, and they're actually in a good position. Same with the Commanders, and it's like, what have you done with us? Like, you hired people from basketball to come work at your football team. Obviously, it worked out. You have a basketball team that you could have hired those basketball people for. I don't know, Elton Brand's been okay. I didn't like him as a player. I feel like he's middling as a GM too, to be completely honest. I feel like he
Yep.
was just a really overpriced player. He seems like a really overpriced GM.
Yep.
Um, it's kinda tough when it's like, "Hey, this guy does a lot of nice things, and I'm watching it. It's cool that the Commanders are having a resurgence," but, like, the fuck, dude? Like, what about us? We've been here, like, taking all your crap, have to deal with everything, the league tampering with us, inferior coaches, players that don't seem to like basketball, which is hilarious when you're a first round pick and you don't
Yep.
have basketball as your first priority. I'm
Oof.
not sure about that. I'm not sure about the organization picking the people that don't care about basketball, but
Yeah.
it's really confusing, and I hate to, like, be, like, negative against them, but it's
I think
kinda
it's
getting
valid.
old now, like, especially now with Embiid, it's like, "What are we doing? What's our future? What are you gonna
Yeah.
do for us?" Like, you
Yeah. I mean,
got your stadium coming, but, like, I don't
yeah.
really care.
Yeah. I don't care. Like, I mean, you made a great point a couple months ago. I don't care if they literally play outside in a freaking alley. People will show up and they just want them to win. Like, I don't. It's not
Yeah,
like the LA Clippers where they've never won anything ever and they need like the fans a reason to come. Like, it's not like you need the SoFi version of the NFL.
yeah, it just feels, like, so ignorant to, like, what we've been through, what we had to go through, like, we were a middling team making the 6 to 8 range in this playoff seeds, and we decided to purposely lose to get a good player, and to do all that and then still have coming up short is like, "Okay, I'm done with this." Like, I need a real legit answer, and this falls on Maury too.
Yep.
Like, I forgot, like, yeah, Alan Brand's been in there mixing up the stew, and then you have Maury in there also mixing up the stew. It's like, I
Has
don't
to
know,
bring
both
back
these guys, I'm
Carter.
starting to really piss me off. And same with you. So either you sell the team and don't worry about it, or you fire both these guys and to figure it out. Like
Yeah.
it, it's enough. Like I don't know. The Knicks went from being it felt like overnight to just having an insane roster. Whereas
Yeah.
like
They were bad.
they
They
couldn't
were
make it fit. Yeah, they couldn't make it fit. And the Celtics, we helped create that monster for whatever reason. I don't know. But we had a hand in letting Jason Tatum just move around, and then we gave them extra picks, and that was a terrible idea. They just grew on that. And there's been other teams that came along the way, like the Bucks found their pieces, put it together. The Heat always, they have their thing going, and then there's younger teams who are coming up, and it's like, how are we gonna compete with them? I don't know.
They got
A
the
team like the
Pistons.
Magic could surpass us.
Yeah.
They already
Yeah.
did, and it's like they have a powerhouse. Like
Yeah.
they could be
Yeah.
legit, and
Imagine
they're
the
young.
Pistons.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Pistons, like all these teams have really young cores or guys who are considered like NBA stars. And yeah, we have Maxey and we have like Paul George, but he's not Paul George from 10 years ago.
The Bulls just keep chilling.
Yeah, the Bulls are back there. Yeah. We're drag racing the Bulls right now for being irrelevant.
Yeah. It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I get you
But
don't want to throw away a season like this, especially Embiid's still like at the edge
Yeah.
of his
But
prime. But
Yeah.
even if you get in the 10th spot, like realistically,
yeah,
you're not-
realistically, like I'm sure
is
if you
it
look up
worth it?
stats, no one ever at this point in the season at this record has won. I get it now. There's the play-in. There's 10 out of 15 teams having a chance for the playoffs after 82 games is stupid. Or besides that, there's no way a team with the Sixers kind of season has ever come close to a championship. I would guess.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm the only reason I'm just saying about the lottery is like, yeah, we need a top six, but like you get in there, you never know what happens. Like you
Yeah.
never know the odds. Memphis got the number one overall pick one year. Who would have had they
Yeah.
suck. So it's like if we get in there and somehow get in, I'm not saying the number one pick's gonna fix our future. I don't even know who it's gonna be. I don't even feel like people are really set on who it should be. It's not like this is a solid slam dunk. This is the number one pick for
Yeah.
sure. I feel like it's Cooper Flag, but I don't know that to be 100%. Like it's not like it's been other
Yeah.
years where it's like you need this guy.
He said he might, and I heard he might not. He's not sure yet if he's coming out or not. He may.
He's
stay.
playing.
Yeah.
He's playing.
Playing what?
He's gonna come.
But I mean, now with you don't necessarily
Yeah,
know.
you can
and
make
I know,
money.
like, it's not like
True.
the money anymore. So it's, but he might. I mean, he might be. But the Hawks last year got the number one overall pick, and they were. I don't know what their odds were, but they weren't.
Yeah, they definitely weren't the worst team.
No.
Yeah.
Like they were middling, so it's like, hey, and maybe that guy helps you. Like that's what I'm in for. And if we don't get the pick, it goes to the Thunder. We certainly don't need to be helping the Thunder at any point right now. I feel like they're
No.
pretty okay.
Yeah, I mean, Jared McCain was huge this year. I
Yeah.
think, honestly, I kind of gave up when I found out he was out for the season because he would play the 1 and Maxey would play the 2, and I love Maxey at the 2. And I was like, oh my gosh, this could, and he doesn't have to go full blown beast mode because he's just a rookie, right? There's no expectations for him, and so yeah, you never know. So good points, and I'm agreeing. I don't like saying throwing in the towel. I'm not going to use that word as a fan, but as an organization, I would be okay if they just said that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely unacceptable to be at this position. I mean, it's embarrassing, honestly, but it's like at the same time, we got to focus on the future too. And if that doesn't involve Embiid, then we need to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we move on to our last topic, NASCAR here, before we move on from basketball, real quick, I forgot to mention WNBA. They awarded the 16th expansion team for 2028, which is going to be the Cleveland Rockers, which was a team from 97 to 2003 and folded. So they're bringing their team back. So that's like the 16th team.
Were they from Cleveland then?
Yes, they were the Cleveland Rockers. They're going to be the same team.
So they're going to include those players and stats a part of this organization
from that time period.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just 97 to 2003 was their run, and then the ownership basically decided they were done, and no one bought the team, so they folded. So, but they're coming back, 16 team. We'll see. I'm sure it'll keep expanding. I mean, there's places like Philly and Houston, who I think have been trying to get a team again too. So we'll see.
How many teams are there right now?
So
12?
There'll be 13 for the next season. The Valkyrie is the first year.
Okay.
So it'll be 13. Then there's one new team each year through 2028. So there'll be 16.
Dang. Yeah, I mean,
it's the Valkyrie, then the Toronto gets one.
Of course.
Got one.
Of course. Somehow Toronto gets one before Philly. It's so
I
dumb.
forget who else got one. But anyway, let's move on to the last topic, NASCAR. Updates from the new race series.
Yeah, so we're 2 weeks in, about to we're actually on week 3, but
Yeah.
2 races in the book so far. Daytona, the big one, the one everyone cares about, and then also a drafting track in Atlanta. William Byron repeated at Daytona 500, pretty much won the same way he won last year. So props to him. I feel like a lot of it's luck, but hey, that's impressive to get 2 Daytona 500 wins back to back like that. Last week at Atlanta, another crazy race. It looked like it was going to be Kyle Larson for a lot of that race. He just kind of put himself in a position. Same with Austin Cindric, all the Penske cars. They just really were in a good spot, but didn't work out. Christopher Bell, our guy from last year, legs it out, gets in a good position, gets the caution flag, and he was in the lead at the time, so he gets the win. Honestly, seems to pick up a lot of wins like this, but hey, whatever. He's got 20 wins in his career, so
It keeps him
that's good for
relevant.
him. Yeah, it keeps him relevant, keeps his bank account full, and obviously gives him a shitload of points for the playoffs. That's what we're talking about. So it's good for him. In the playoffs, or as the playoff points are,
playoff points.
yeah, as we're already getting to the, racking up a lot of good points. Ryan Blaney out in front. Um, Kind of unexpected, you could say. He just kind of done it in his own way. One stage win, but it was important. He's just been out in front leading. William Byron, same thing, already has a win. So he's got 5 playoff points. It's very important. Tyler Reddick, third. Again, these guys are just in good positions. Had to bring up Bubba Wallace, number 5 overall. Uh, you know,
Top 10.
2 races in. That's all I got to say.
Did not finish.
Yeah. Yeah, he's been I gotta give it to him. He really puts himself in a good position qualifying, but these are also his type of tracks, speedway tracks,
Okay.
drafting tracks. So, it's hard to say like so early in the season. There's definitely a lot to shake out. I mean, you have John Hunter Nemechek, obviously, could be building on a really good season. He wrecked the most out of everybody last year, so I feel like the fact he's finishing races is a huge thing, especially early on in the season. But yeah, it's been pretty wild, I would say, back to the way NASCAR is. I'm happy it's back. It's fulfilling Sundays since football ended, and it's definitely been exciting so far. This week we head back to a road course, Coda in Austin, but a shortened version of what they've run in the previous few years. So there it is, Echo Park Automotive Grand Prix.
That's crazy. Only 95 laps.
Yeah, 95 laps. But it'll still probably take about 3 hours to go through the whole thing just because of the layout and everything. Hard course.
It's a wild
The guys who are gonna qualify the quickest, I feel like, are gonna have to be Shane Van Gisbergen just because of his extensive road course racing career. Ty Gibbs just seems to not even use the brake. I don't even know if he touches it at all. He just is all gas. And same with Tyler Reddick. They just whip the cars around these tracks, and I feel like those 3 guys just are relentless road course racers. I've never brought up this guy, I don't think, on the podcast, but I need to bring him up because we've talked about young phenoms. We talked about the Padres young catcher Ethan Salas. I think he was 16 whenever he was officially signed, I think, right, Ben?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. NASCAR also has one. His name's Connor Zilisch, and he's been basically Dale Jr.'s protege. He's not gonna be in the Cup Series this year, but he's full-time in Xfinity Series this year. Last year, he debuted 1 race. It was at Coda, won. 1 race, 1 win. Pretty
Wow.
impressive. Yeah. He's back this year full time. I think he's a DNF for both races. Just got tangled up and can't really, Kyle Larson, for as great of a racer he hasn't had good statistical numbers at super speedway, so it's kind of a loaded thing. I feel like a lot of it's luck too. Guys just get collected up, but he's gonna be a force coming through. I feel like he's just one of those next gen dominant racers. You can apply him at anything. He's gonna be good at every single style track. There's just guys who are better at one or a little less at another, but he just seems like he's one of those all around guys, like a William Byron type, where he grew up and he just has the knack for whatever it is. Put him behind the wheel, and he's gonna have a good opportunity to do it. So,
What's the name
um,
again for everyone?
Connor Zilic.
Connor Zealous.
Do you know how old he
Yeah,
is?
I think he's 19.
That's crazy for a
Yeah,
driver. I mean, Garrett
yeah,
Barr is almost
19.
30, and he's still racing on
Took
dirt
out
tracks.
Yeah. I
I
mean,
mean,
honestly, a lot of the Truck Series and Xfinity Series is guys who are like 20 or younger.
Dang.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, and the fact they're there and they all have decorated youth careers. I mean, there's a reason why they're in this position, even though they're so young. And it's all about development and who's going to be taking over the guys who are in the Cup Series rides. And there was guys who I grew up watching who were the hot young guys who never panned out. Ricky Stenhouse was one of those guys. He was definitely a hot young guy. Went to Roush Racing, didn't really work out. Went to a smaller
Yeah.
one car team, and he's just been around. He's a capable driver, but he just doesn't have the stats and like
He's
kind of
built a
flamed
career.
out.
He's been able to
Yeah,
build a career off of it. Yeah.
but he was the guy. He won an Xfinity title, was winning races. He was just dominant, and then for whatever reason, got to the Cup level, and it just never was the same. But yeah, there's definitely been these younger guys, but I feel like Zilic just has that little bit extra, and especially when Dale Jr. is your mentor, I feel like
veteran.
that. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of extra pressure on you to be the protege and to live up to that expectation. So we'll see. I mean, it's gonna play out before our eyes, and we get to see they're a part of it. But he's definitely been a big part of why I've been tuning into Xfinity races and at least just seeing there. But I mean, even there, Austin Hill, just dominant guy. I mean, his car blew up at Daytona. He was winning the races. Was out front literally all day at Atlanta. Won all three stages and the win. So he's just been dominant guy, and it's like there's so many guys who are just ready, I think, at the cup level, but there's not enough spots. So I'm hoping,
That's wild.
through expansion, yeah. I'm hoping through more rides, it just gives these guys who are capable of being competitive a chance because it's so hard to be a cup level driver. And Frankie Muniz, the actor, he's stepped in and been a truck driver this year. So it's like people are getting in, and I hope to only see it grow and to be better. But
Are
yeah, we'll
there
see.
chases? You're able to hop mid season, right, or no? Like
What's that?
NASCAR, like Austin Hill, can he make the jump and race in some of these NASCAR races this year?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, things happen all the there's no real, like,
it's not
deadlines,
like
like,
it's not like a minors and majors though.
yeah, like, it's all just about if there's an opportunity. So guys just it's pretty fluid, like, it's actually pretty wild how fluid it is sometimes, like, you'll just have a replacement guy or this guy comes up and he only has a stint, or there's part-time people who are only running so many times throughout the year. And literally last year, Corey LaJoie and, got literally traded, like, with 2 weeks left in the season.
It's crazy.
Uh, yeah, like, there's no trade like, you can do that, like, there isn't, like, a trade deadline. Trading doesn't happen often, but it was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna swap out drivers, and yeah, we're gonna do that," and I was like,
That's crazy.
yeah, so, like, it can happen and guys blend in, or a guy can't finish a race, so another guy will hop in, and he's just hanging around, and it's like, it's pretty light and fast, I would say, with it. But yeah, so there's definitely opportunities, but it's like it's just so hard because a guy like Joey Logano, Brad Keselowski, like Denny Hamlin, they've been racing for like over 20 years now, and it's like they've just been
Ridiculous.
holding a spot, and there's only so many, and they've shrunk. You know, like you could have 43 cars enter when I was really in my prime of like being a middle schooler, watching every single race and being like 43 cars are in this. And now it's like down to 30 sometimes. Like they've
Yeah.
lost like 13 cars that were potentially in there. So it's like 13 people lost their opportunities. And that's huge. That's like a lot of guys who were younger that could have been up there. And it's like all the guys who were younger now or the old guard had those chances because the teams were so big or different opportunities.
Yeah.
It's
So
weird that it's like that. Like to me, like from the outside looking in, you think they'd be like, okay, yeah, there's 40 cars every year. Like this is the number of cars, like the number of teams in another sport. Baseball is 30 teams. It's how many teams start the year. But it's like it all depends on the teams, the ownership, and there's a lot
yeah.
more factors. But like that's crazy to me because growing up there was like it felt like there was a million cars out there. A wreck would happen and be like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
so
And there
much
was
change in a race. But like then now there's like 30
yeah.
drivers. It's a lot less.
It's so much harder, and it's just like it's just consolidated, so there's not, like, as many small teams, like, not that many one-car teams or two-car teams or like, I feel like it's all just bigger now, and, like, there is some, but there's just not as many as you would come by as, like, when I was growing up, like, it's crazy to think of all the teams that are just gone now that were, like, staples when I was growing up. I was like, "Yeah,
Yep.
that's a powerhouse team." Like, they have a loaded roster, and it's like they're just gone now, like, they don't even exist, or they folded, or they transformed into a different team, and it's like it's weird. It's like that doesn't happen in sports. It's not like, "Oh, yeah, the Commanders just folded with the Panthers, and now they're just, that just is." Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, the
Yeah.
NFL just lost, like, 5 teams, and, like, 2 of them merged, and the other 3 are just gone. Like, we're past that point. Like, we're into the point of, like, expanding teams, and it's like
Yeah.
NASCAR is
Yeah.
by their own being, I think. It's like they just limit how many charters and stuff. It's like and how many manufacturers. Like, there used to be so many different brands of cars in it. Now it's just 3. It's like it's kind
Yep.
of boring.
No,
Like, yeah, but
That was intense.
yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully with like the exposure and the brand and the popularity and like F1 had a boom and hopefully NASCAR can have a boom too, just because I feel like there's just so much more craziness that happens. Like, if you're tired of watching Max Verstappen, and like I get this year's a little bit better, it seems like with results, but it's like I don't know. There's not the stranglehold of like your qualifying position and then your finishing position. It's like you
Yeah.
could start 32nd and win, or be 5 laps down to start the race because of Michael McDowell had a bad power steering column and or power steering, and they replaced it 5 laps down. Worked his way up and finished on the lead lap, and I think had a top 15 finish. It's like that's
Crazy.
crazy. You could do that in in a race, like
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it
It
is.
seems impossible, but it happens.
Wow. Well, thanks for the update, Chase. We'll next week check back, see how that short course went, and see if one of those 3 guys you mentioned can take home the dub. But I think we had a nice podcast today. Not a lot of topics, but definitely some nice deep dives into some of those things.
Good
Good
content.
conversation, and
Definitely needed this.
we'll see everyone next week. Appreciate everyone who tuned in, who listened, however you did that. So yeah, episode 97 is done. We'll see you guys all next week.
Deuces.
Peace.